Okay, let's call our Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order for today, March 3rd, 2020. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Scott Mulhern,
Here.
Ron Rice,
Here.
John McKinley, Tim Bowers,
Here.
Danny Bryant,
Here.
Matias Rosales, Alicia Sereno, Gary Black, Wayne Idy, Paul White.
Here.
Chairman, you do have a quorum.
Stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we start working through our agenda, I do need to make an announcement that we do each week. If you're parked in the rear employee gated parking lot, please move your vehicle to the front or the north parking lot to avoid having your vehicle locked in. If you're here and have not signed in, please sign in the sign-in sheet at the table by the rear door. Please state your name and address for the record before speaking. Please address the chairman, not the audience or staff, when speaking at the podium. If you have handouts to give to the commission, give them to the administrative staff to distribute. And if you show information on an overhead projector, please give them to the administrative staff to become part of the permanent record. Restrooms and drinking fountains are down the hall behind this meeting room. Feel free to use the facilities as needed. Please, no food or beverages other than water in the meeting room. Thank you. Our chairman has arrived, and I will pass the gavel. Good thing I brought my glasses.
Where are we at? Everything?
We've done the pledge and we've done the roll call, and so we're ready to approve the minutes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. All right, item number 3, approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting minutes of January 28th, 2020.
Mr. Chairman, would you take a motion?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I propose a motion that we approve the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting minutes of January 28th, 2020.
Okay, got a motion. Have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Say aye. Any against? All right, motion carries. Item number 4, special use permit case number 20-01. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting special use permit case number 20-01. This is a request for a special use permit per section 601.03, paragraph X of the Yuma County zoning ordinance to allow an accessory dwelling unit on a parcel 5.0 gross acres in size, zone rural area, 5-acre minimum under the 65-70 decibel noise zone of the OX2 field. The project is located in the Yuma Mesa Planning Area at 3899 East Chaparral Way in Yuma, Arizona. The applicant would like to be able to keep an existing double-wide manufactured home as an accessory dwelling unit. This is the vicinity and zoning map showing the subject parcel crosshatch and highlighted in red at the center. The property is accessed on the north via Chaparral Way and on the east via Avenue 4E. Parcels 5 and 6 on the north are property zone rural area 5-acre minimum, improved with site-built homes. Parcels 3, 6, and 5 to the west and south are parcels improved with manufactured homes, also zone rural area 5-acre minimum. And on the east, we have parcel number 1, which is also City of Yuma and Berry and Goldwater Range. I mentioned the property is under the 65-70 decibel noise zone of the OX2. This is a fragmented site plan. Highlighted, the rectangle is the location of the accessory dwelling unit, the manufactured home, and accessory structures. And on the right, which is the north portion, is the site that was built in 2006. This is an aerial view showing the conditions within the context of the area. This is a view looking northwest of the subject property. This picture was taken back in 2014. This is current picture like a month ago, looking west of the subject property on the northern portion. And looking at the accessory dwelling unit on the southern portion of the subject property. View looking north at Avenue 4E, and view looking west at Chaparral Way from Avenue 4E. Staff received comment from Yuma County Airport Authority and MCIS not in favor of this request. No comments from property owners within the zoning area were received. Staff recommends approval of special use permit 20-01, subject to the following operational conditions. The approval of the special use permit is based on the site plan submitted by the applicant. Any change from this site plan requires prior approval by the planning director. Number 2, the accessory dwelling unit may not be used for rental occupancy. Also, the following performance conditions. An agricultural disclosure statement shall be recorded by the applicant within 60 days of board's approval. All owners or their agent must provide an ARS 12-1134 waiver within 60 days of board's approval. And number 3, a range disclosure statement shall be recorded within 60 days of board's approval. Mr. Chairman, this concludes this presentation, and the applicants are present.
Thank you. You done? All right. Thank you. As the applicant at this time, like to speak? Any questions from Chairman? Board?
I would like to ask a couple of questions of staff.
Calling you the
Mr.
chairman. I want you the
Yeah, you confused me, the vice chairman. The Marine Corps Air Station and the airport are both recommended denial. Is that,
They're not, Mr. Chairman, yeah, that's correct. They're not in favor of this.
you're not in favor?
They're not in favor. Just to, like to add, this is the third time. This is a renewal. This is the third time we bring it. And before it was like a 5-year year terms for each renewal. Now this time we're not setting a time limit on this.
This time we're getting back to treating it more like we have treated other special use permits that cost a lot of money to put in. We're just, if we approve it, it would be approved until they didn't want to use it anymore. Is that
That's
correct?
Mr. Chairman.
And the reason staff is recommending approval is that it fits your guidelines. I mean, we're not increasing occupancy, it's already there.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. Still the same since it was established in 2006.
Questions of staff, sir?
Any other questions from the commissioners? No? At this time, open it up to the public. Anyone is for or against? Applicants didn't want to come up, so, all right, bring it back to the commissioners.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend approval of special use permit case number 20-01 as presented by staff.
Thank you. I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 5, number 12, East Subdivision, modifications of subdivision regulations. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting modifications of subdivision regulations for the 12 East subdivision. Mr. Chairman, this is a request for modification from sections 4.12C and 4.15D of the Yuma County Subdivision Regulations for the proposed 12 East subdivision, which is located in the Foothills Planning Area within the vicinity of the southeast corner of South Frontage Road and Scottsdale Avenue. This is the vicinity map showing the hatch and highlighted in red, the subject parcel, which is zone R16. On the north, we have a group of parcels zoned general commercial, as well as on the west. And on the south, we have 2 parcels zoned rural area 10-acre minimum. And on the east, parcel zoned manufactured home park. Number 1, modification from section 4.12C, intersection at corners. It is requested by the developer not to provide at street corners a minimum 25 feet by 25 feet right-of-way chamfer at the intersection of the property lines. The developer is proposing to build 20 feet by 20 feet right-of-way chamfers instead. Within the circles at the location where the developer wished not to comply with a 25 by 25 chamfers. Modification number 2, From section 4.15D, residential collector type streets, it is requested by the developer not to improve Avenue 1134E, also known as Henson Avenue, throughout the entire site. The developer proposes to close the link to the south frontage road. And the circle is where the developer wishes not to extend the road. Just have that lot number 1 as it is. The following is the staff recommendations. On item number 1, modification from section 4.12C, intersection and corners, the engineering department recommends approval of this request for internal streets, but not for Scottsdale Drive and Avenue 11 3/4E. Minimum unobstructed site distance shall be maintained at local collector street by means of a 25 by 25 chamfer to ensure a proper line of sight is kept. In red is where staff's proposing to comply with the regulation, and in green is where it's proposing to recommend approval for the 20 by 20. Modification number 2, from section 415D, residential collector type streets, the engineering department recommends denial of this request. There is an existing dedication and road improvements along the alignment to the south, and therefore, the developer shall provide a road stub out for future development onto South Frontage Road. In this image, it's showing the outline of the proposed 12B subdivision, and below, it's where the existing improvements are located. Mr. Chairman, this concludes the presentation for the modifications. I have the actual tentative plat presentation. Would you like to see it, or would you like to?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
This is a request for approval of the tentative map for the proposed 12B subdivision consisting of 103 residential lots, zone R16, low density residential, 6,000 square feet minimum. The project is located in the Foothills planning area. This is the vicinity and zoning map. This is the tentative map. Staff recommends approval of the tentative map for the 12B subdivision, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, in accordance with the Yuma County Public Works Standards, Volume 1, Section 7.3, guidance for traffic studies, a traffic study will be required. All improvements required by traffic study will be constructed. Number 2, traffic calming devices shall be required per Yuma County Subdivision Regulations, Section 4.20, along control points exceeding 800 feet. Number 3, within 60 days of approval by the board, the applicant shall A, record a range disclosure statement, and B, record an aviation disclosure statement. Number 4, if any requested modifications that affect the tentative map are denied, the tentative map shall be revised to meet the requirements of the subdivision regulations and resubmitted to the Planning Commission. Mr. Chairman, this concludes this presentation and these 2 items.
Staff. This time, we'll bring it back to commissioners. Any questions? Concerns? This time I'll go and open up to the public and the developer as well. Step up and make any comments for our discussion.
Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, my name is Craig Colvin, Colvin Engineering, 6105 East Alyssa Lane in Yuma, Arizona. We're okay with pretty much everything except for the chamfers are very critical for this project. We just completed the 10 East subdivision, which is pretty much the same name, same type project, same size lots, identical. It was built on 10E, of course, by the name. And with that project, we went ahead and did the 20-foot chamfers, which has been done on most of our projects that we've done recently. The reason being is because a lot of the city has gone to the same type of chamfer and smaller in different locations. And because of these, even on these larger roads, there's more of a setback than normal in the interior roads. So the 25-foot chamfer was required for what we needed for handicap ramps and such in the past, and it's not required anymore. So that's the only thing that need to oppose. We'd really like to have the 20-foot chamfers throughout the whole project, just like we did on 10 East and the other projects we've done before this. The site is critical. We're trying to keep the number of lots to use the amount of space that we have there. Even though it's not a lot, by going to the 25-foot chamfers, we pretty much eliminate the minimum size lot that we need for the subdivision. So it'll cause pretty much havoc on the lots throughout the entire subdivision. The reason for the modification to not have the road go all the way up to the south frontage road is because there is no right-of-way north of that location. There are no improvements there. It's an APS substation there at that location. So there's really no way to put a road through anywhere else. Other than that, I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
A question on the chamfers. Would it only affect the corner lots, or why would it affect the rest of the tentative map?
Because the lots are just, it has to be a minimum of 6,000 square feet for the zoning. We just went through all the zoning process, and it was with this chamfer size. And so taking those chamfers out puts it under the 6,000 square foot mark.
On those corner lots that would be
Yeah,
affected?
on all those corner lots. And just those blocks. So if you do it even on the one side, it reduces the size of those lots so that it's not going to be 6,000. Unless we have a special, we have to go through another process for an exception.
Variance or something?
A variance of some kind for smaller lot sizes. But we'd prefer doing something that we've done in the past several projects and keep the 20-foot chamfers.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if the modification is denied and they have to change the layout of the lots to meet the 6,000 square feet, we would have to submit another tentative map.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
That meets the requirements. Or they have the option of applying for a variance. So it's up to the developer as to which way they proceed.
Right, that was understood. Can staff explain again the issue with the 25 and 20? What's the, on your point of view again? I mean, in 20 and 25, if Agent Maquitas.
Arturo Alvarez, Civil Engineering Department. As far as the chamfers, we're requesting for the developer to provide 25 by 25 on the local collector streets, which is on the west side and east side. And like the engineer mentioned a while ago, it's for future sidewalk, handicap ramps.
Or future handicap ramp
Yes.
sidewalk.
That's correct. And also the line of sight issue. And again, that's one of our regulation. If,
Can I ask a question here too? Will a standard sidewalk ramp fit in the 20-foot chamfer?
We're modifying our standards to make a wider ramp. And you're gonna see those standards change hopefully at the end of this year or next year.
The current standards, will they fit?
The current standards will fit on a 25 easily.
It won't fit on a 20.
On the 20, I think there was a slight encroachment on one of the, we had some issues we had a slight encroachment on one of the property lines. And that was one of the reasons that's why we went with the 25 with 25 a while back when these regulations were changed back in 8, I think, or so.
It's subdivision, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Open. Speak freely.
Subdivision that the applicant talked about, 10E, where they used 20-foot chamfers. Did you see that that's going to be a problem in the future?
On that subdivision, I believe 10E was in the city of Yuma streets. We didn't have no control over that, I believe. That's within the city of Yuma limits. I believe we only had control of the internal streets.
But
So currently, City of Yuma does 20 by 20, or they're doing 25 by 25?
I believe they're doing both. But in this particular case, we're recommending to do a 25, at least on the local collectors.
Or are we considering the one that has no future development collectors as well?
Yeah, and we're also recommending to extend that connection to South Frontage Road at a future time.
Right, that part I get, yeah.
But basically, if they can't do all of the chamfers at 20 feet, it's going to require a new tentative map. I mean,
Or less lots, I would imagine.
but a new tentative map, yeah.
Yeah.
And the only future problem that you see is that handicap ramps
Might encroach.
might
Yes.
encroach.
Yes.
Not necessarily that they would, but they might.
Sight, you mentioned. The line of sight, can you explain on the line of sight?
Yes,
difference,
and
please?
that's the same situation we had with another one that came to you last month, I believe. We're recommended, we insist on recommending them on the local collectors, arterials, and major collectors. At least have a 25 by 25.
Mr. Chair, I've got a question. Mr. Colvin stated that he had one with the 20-foot chamfers. Why, what's the difference? I don't understand that.
The-
Why is that one approved and not this one?
Like I mentioned earlier, that was on the local collector on 10E was an arterial. That, I believe that's the city of Yuma limits. We have no control over that. That's their
The city of
jurisdiction.
Yuma approved that?
I'm assuming they did if that was indeed was built at 20 by 25, I mean 20 by 20. But the regulation is there. And we went through extensive research to come up with those numbers. So when we modify the standards, we're gonna look into that and maybe minimize or somehow make them a 20 by 25 or 20 by 20, I mean.
20 by what?
20 by 20.
When we look at them?
When we look at them again, yes. We're gonna evaluate that again. Because I've noticed a trend that we've been approving, I mean, not us, but recommending approval for a lesser
And
chamfers.
that kind of puts us in a situation if you're looking at maybe doing that, but I understand where
Well,
you're coming from.
we're gonna
Right
evaluate.
now, because of the regulation, that's why your staff is recommending,
Yes.
but I get that. I mean, I get that. Yeah, I get that. Okay. Any other questions from any of the other commissioners? Kind of quiet over there, sir, Mr. Paul?
I'm happy with what we have. I would like to see a picture, if staff could
Yeah,
comment about
the aerial view.
the aerial view and the,
Which one's the APS substation that they mentioned?
To the right.
Probably, I can't see, where is my mouse? Right there.
So that means that road could connect to Frontage Road, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Assuming this other parcel between that and 10 is privately owned as well?
Need to get out of there for a second.
Questions?
Any other questions for,
Yeah, I have a quick question also on it looks like that's lot 4 to the north of the of a land division that was done in November 2019. And I'm wondering if the roadway was gonna go through there, why wasn't there any right of way taken at that time for this?
Under the land division, we're not able to take right away.
So how would the process go from here on out? Say if we say that he needs to remove lot 1, 30 feet of lot 1 to continue that right of way through, what would the process be from here on out to gain right of way rest of the way to the frontage road?
We do have that in our standards, the road stubs. So that and the future demand, the county will purchase that right away and connect that.
Is that in the plan? Is that in the county's plan?
Well,
to do so?
it depends on the demand. But there's dedication on the south side, so we would hate to close that loop on
I know-
connecting.
I noticed on the south side though, further to the south, that's state land, right? So that won't continue to 40th Street.
Well, that continues, but there's an existing dedication. The RV park to the east dedicated.
Mhm.
They didn't build, they probably asked for a variance, but there's dedication on the east side. All the entire stretch.
So at the time of the land division, you're not able to ask for an easement or?
For right away, no.
Mr. Chairman,
yes?
we're not able to request dedications at the time of a land division permit. However, we may be able to request right-of-way at the time of development of that property if they come in with a building permit for some type of commercial project. That might be the time to ask for it, depending on whether we request a traffic impact study or not. Depends on how the property is developed.
Was there a traffic impact study done with this subdivision?
We're asking for one, I believe. There was one.
Part of the conditions.
Part of the conditions, yes.
I just wondered if it warranted it because you have 2 access, points to Scottsdale.
If you
so-
want to what, the traffic study or?
No, if it warrants that 3rd access point.
Actually, what warrants the access point is the existing dedication on the south side, and that's a local collector.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, the local
Those are
connect,
meant to go all the way to the arterial.
but it won't, because it's state land on the south side. That's why. It's privately owned to a point, and then further
What if-
down to the south, it's state land.
Yeah, but it extends to 40th, I believe.
Now, just to clarify here, what you guys are talking about, which parcels he's talking about? Are you able to scroll your mouse? Which is the one that's privately owned, correct?
Both of them, Mr.
Both
Chairman.
of them.
Yes.
Now, the northern, where those two parcels meet, that east to west, is that gonna be partially developed as well? That road? Or the perimeter of the subdivision?
Which ones, Mr. Chairman?
Well, the red line is between that parcel and the,
Mr. Chairman, that alignment is not proposed to be improved at this point. I don't think it's a midsection or a quarter section line road. So depends on how the property to the south is developed. The lots that are developed along there may butt up to the rear of
Of
the
that
lots
pro-
along the south of the proposed subdivision. And the state-owned land that Commissioner Moore is referring to is the land that's on the south side of Sierra Ridge subdivision, which is located about 600 feet to the south of the subdivision. But just keep in mind that the Avenue 11 3/4 E along the limits of Sierra Ridge subdivision was improved. Then there's a gap for the private land zone RA10 between Sierra Ridge and the subject property. And that's why staff is recommending that application be denied, because the intent is for that street to eventually extend up to the south frontage road.
no, and I get that part too as well, because later on, all that traffic flow is gonna be on one. I mean, you're talking about future of the other private party subdivides that parcel right there. I mean, talking about more traffic. I mean, I get that part. The Schaefer's is the part that I was just trying to.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I mean, I'm okay with the 2020s. I'd like to hear Mr. Colvin's response as to why we
Right.
need to
Not.
not
Right away.
dedicate.
Sure. Well, thank you. The applicant, can come back up.
Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, when we proposed these modifications, and we talked to staff, we didn't know of this. This is the first time we've heard that there was a concern with either of these issues, because the road at that time was not going to go through. There's no traffic coming from the south, and there was no reason to punch through. So I personally don't know why that's changed. We were just told that it wasn't going to go through, and why waste the land, so ask for the modification. As far as the chamfers, the same situation. To clarify on the 10 East project, yes, 10 East itself is in the city of Yuma, and they require a 20 by 20 chamfer, but all the rest of the interior chamfers were also 20 by 20 for that subdivision. So the entire subdivision was 20 by 20 chamfers. So anyway, it's not the end of the world. It's just that was the direction we went. We were going for this modification for the right-of-way to be closed off at that point, because there was no traffic coming from the south. No reason to widen the street. There was no reason to punch through to the north. So I think if we would have known before, we probably could have worked something out. We just didn't know. So
Questions?
So you weren't given any indication in your development meetings at all that they were going to ask for that right away?
no, that it's right-of-way that's always asked for, but when we talked to them about whether it was needed or not, said no, so we utilized it for retention and for the lots. So.
Would that part of it also delay you would have to redo the tentative map?
If I could, Mr. Chairman, ask, I think there's a certain number, percentage that can be changed before the final plat without starting over the process.
Mr. Chairman, let me go grab the subdivision regulations.
Yeah, because I can see where staff is coming from by looking at the aerial picture, where in the future, that might have to be connected. I mean,
Yeah, that's
and
why
again,
we
we
asked.
want to develop smart and growth, and
Right.
not later on be stuck. Well, we didn't know back then.
Yeah.
So
And while they're getting that, if I could, you've developed several projects with 20 by 20 chaffers.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman Dan, Mr. Bryant, yes, we've done that.
Whatever, so
It's gone back and forth a couple of times. Yes, we have. So we've asked for this, and there hasn't been a problem. The handicap ramps, where they are now, fit within the
So
right-of-way.
you have several that have handicap ramps and they work.
Fit within the right-of-way without encroaching over that.
The
And again, that's
visual-
why the city of Yuma is doing it. They have the exact same, they just, in 2019, came out with their new standards and had them all reworked, and this is what they're going with, is the 20 by 20s.
how are you finding that out? How's the handicap ramps working out with that? I mean,
They're fine. Yeah, there's no problem with that.
personally, I don't see an issue with that part. The other part, I would agree with staff.
If you look at the cross sections at these larger roads, at the midsection and quarter section roads, they have more right-of-way and they have more unusable roadway. So, for example, these have, regular streets have 5.5 feet behind the sidewalk to the right-of-ways, so there's just dead space there. It goes up to, I believe, 14.5 feet for the larger street, so you have a huge amount of sight distance on larger street that's built into the right-of-way standard, into the cross-section standard of the streets. So,
How many lots are on there after all total?
how many what?
How many lots total?
103 right now.
I'm actually surprised they're not asking for the right of way on that back end, on the south side. But okay. Did you find that out?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, a decrease in the number of lots would not require that the final, the tenant, map come back to the planning and zoning commission. An increase does.
Anything else I can answer? Try to answer?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Thank you. All right. This time, anyone else from the public?
Good afternoon, my name is Nathan Haida. I'm the developer and the builder for this project. Address 14772 South Avenue, 4 1/4, Yuma, Arizona 85365. I can speak to a couple facts here. I was also the on-site guy for 10 East, built the project from start to finish. We had no issues with sidewalks. We had no issues with lines of sights. Everybody there is extremely happy with what we've done, how we've done it, and the ways and everything works. The handicap ramps were sufficient for everything that I've ever seen go on for 2 years. I don't see why we shouldn't be able to do a 20 by 20. As I'm looking at this, it's first I've heard of it too. I mean, I see a huge impact of possibly up to 10% of my lots, which, I mean, puts us into the factor of maybe this project isn't worth doing at that point. So that's something we have to consider. I can also tell you that we have a tentative contract out on the property to the south, which then would extend those two roads. I think they're Henson and Rogers, back south into, I think, 40th, allowing more ins and outs on that and not having to take lot 1 away to take that easement through. So maybe that will help you in your decision with that.
Would you say that one more time? You have a,
We have a contract or a tentative contract out for the piece of land south of what we just purchased, which I think ties into 40th, I believe is that back road. So we'd have 2 more roads coming out of the current subdivision into 40th, which then would extend out into Scottsdale. So it would open up a little bit more roadways and everything, with traffic could flow better.
Any other questions?
Yes. Okay, if that, the next contract you have,
Correct.
what you're saying is you still go by 20 by 20s, but with the extra roadway, it would eliminate part of the problem.
The extra roadway would eliminate maybe part of the traffic problem that might be foreseeing being in that area and give me back or keep my lot 1 and not extend into the south frontage road. My personal opinion is going onto that south frontage road without a light is dangerous anyways. Coming off 10 East, been out there for 2 years, probably seen a dozen accidents. It's an unlighted road. There's no signage. There's no, I mean, in my opinion, it's a bad idea to begin with.
At this time, but eventually, if it gets developed, I mean, that's installed.
Yeah, but then you have a light and a light within a quarter mile of each other. I don't know what the restrictions are on that, which I think there might be some, but anyways, I would think that pushing the traffic off of that back to Scottsdale and using the proper lighted system would be a safer environment for the drivers anyways. Just looking at 10 East and South Frontage. Like I said, been out there for 2 years and seen my fair share of ambulances out there.
The other option is lot number 1, you could always eliminate it and make lot number 2 bigger and charge a premium there.
Yeah, it's always an option.
So 1 lot. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, I do have a question for staff again if I understood Art correctly when he was up, that in the future, the county may go with 20 by 20?
I didn't get that.
You
Yes,
commented
as-
that in the future, regs may be changed where the county will move to a 20 by 20 anyway.
Yes, if we have no issues with the handicap ramps and the line of sight, we will.
Mr. Chairman, keep in mind the changes to the current regulations, to the current standards, have not been presented neither to the Planning and Zoning Commission or the board. Right now, whether those new standards are proposed is speculative.
And that's why we're saying the word future, Maggie. Thank you.
I know, I'm just saying
Thank
that
you.
the decisions can be made based on something that
No, I
may
get
or
it.
may not be
Right.
approved.
But we're doing it for the road, then in the future, we might connect that road to the south frontage as well. So again, we can speculate both ways, so, okay. Thank you. Anything else from commissioners?
I had a question. If we approve this, are we approving the 20-foot chamfers then?
Depends how you guys present the motion.
Be careful what you say, my friend.
So I'm asking, you guys want to do motion? I mean, I'll be honest, with the chamfers, I understand the 20 by 20. I mean, I see where that is, and I've seen the other subdivisions, South County and all that. I myself would agree with the connection of the road for the future development in 10 years, 5 years, not to be in a situation where we're at with a lot of the subdivisions. But again, I'll leave that up to you guys or who wants to approve.
So if
I'd just like to see the county and the city get together on what they're doing. It'd make
They're getting there.
a lot easier for everybody.
We're getting there little by little.
Mr. Chairman, if I understand, staff is recommending approval of the first modification, that is the 20 by 20 chaffers, is that?
No, but that's only on the interior part. But the outside will still need to be
Yeah,
25.
not just on the interior part. So we would have to word throughout the subdivision if we went with staff's recommendation. And then staff's recommend a denial of the right-of-way dedication.
Request.
And
Right. So do I have a motion?
let me ask one more question. The owner-developer just stated that he has a problem or sees a problem with these small streets connecting to South Frontage Road. And I have a business on South Frontage Road, and I can't get out on South Frontage Road in the wintertime, so I drive through parking lots and go down so I can go find a light. So he has a real point there as to how dangerous it is, and 9Es, and if we get a light, we need 9E before 10Es. But it is a dangerous situation to dump traffic out onto South Frontage Road in its current condition. Had staff taken that into consideration when you're asking about and thinking about extending this road?
We just had to happen in one of our developments, and what the staff did over there, it was a right only. I mean, there's always options. I mean, it could be a right only and no left turn. I mean, again, we're speculating for the future what is needed when we get to that point. I'm assuming that's what staff.
The extension of the road of the local collector is to alleviate the traffic volumes concentrated on Scottsdale Drive. You're looking at 100 and plus units, and then you're gonna add another one to the south. And all of that's gonna be jamming into Scottsdale Drive, so it's a good idea at a future date to make that connection to South Frontage Road. That's a quarter of a mile to the Scottsdale, which is a major collector.
So you're sticking to your guns there, you'd like to have
On the,
that?
yes, yes, yes. Also, I might suggest if the commission wishes to approve the chamfers at a 20, you could ask the wording that just as long as the handicap ramps fit on the local collectors, just stick with the 20 by 20, and if they don't, then the developer to do a 25 by 25. That's an option.
Mr. Colvin just said at the city that the handicaps fit in the 20 by 20s. Is that correct, sir? All right.
On the local collectors, is it a 25-foot radius you require?
On the old standards, it was a 25-foot radius, yes.
For this
Yes.
project, would it be as well, going on to
This one,
Scottsdale?
on the last one, we've been approving MAG handicap ramps, which a little bit bigger than the one we currently have. So I just want to make sure we are able to fit those. So that's why I was suggesting to include that recommendation. If recommend approval of 20 by 20 on the arterials. I mean on the perimeter roads, just as long as the ramps will fit. If not, they do a 25 by 25.
But it is a 25-foot radius on Scottsdale, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
A fit.
Oh, the engineer says it.
Well, I mean, they're just covering their bases, yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
I'm just saying it'll fit.
Because I know we in the past we had some issues with encroaching into the lots.
Need a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve 20 by 20s on the internal and external intersections and deny the request to open up the street on the east to the north side.
Not or to open up?
To deny the request to open it, to deny the request for a change. To follow staff's recommendation.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Okay, that makes better sense, okay.
I'll second the motion, I think.
Yeah.
And the motion is to allow the 20-foot campers throughout the subdivision.
Correct.
And to deny modification number 2, which is dedication of the right-of-way and road improvement for lot number 1. My only suggestion is at the Board of Supervisors level that argument be made about if we take a road out to South Frontage Road, it does need to be a right turn road lane only because Avenue 9E backs up terribly bad without a light.
Remember, there's roundabouts now.
Yeah, we
There's
could
many things on the road.
put
We
a
need a
roundabout, but I have a real soft spot for the argument that the developer made about dumping more traffic onto South Frontage Road until South Frontage Road is done with when you don't have a controlled light.
Right.
But I second the
Right.
motion. That was a long second.
And it's just for staff and for the record, that would be the request, item number 5, and then we still have to have a motion. Okay, all right. So all in favor for the motion in the second, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Say nay. I mean, any against, say nothing, okay. Item number 6, so we need a motion for item number 6, please.
Mr. Chairman, I
Approve the
move,
tentative.
no, go
ahead.
If you got the wording, go ahead.
Is to approve the tentative map.
Do we have to add?
With the suggested modifications.
With the suggested conditions.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Any against? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Item number 7, rezoning case number 20-01.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
need to recuse myself from rezoning case number 20-01.
Don't agree with that. No, I'm playing.
We need to make him start having to just stand in the bathroom.
Give him like a light, make him in.
No, unless you're making 50%, I even come up with this project. I'm told you're not supposed to recuse yourself, but okay. All right. Item number 7. Go ahead, Steph.
Chairman Rosales, thank you. Members of the commission, Juan Leal Rubio, Senior Planner with the Planning Zone Division. As you mentioned, this is rezoning case 2001. This is a request by Adrian Vega, agent for TNNA Investments, requesting to rezone a parcel 5.06 gross acres in size from RA10 to SSB2. The property located in the Yuma Mesa planning area at the southwest corner of Avenue 1 3/4 and County 16th Street in Yuma. And the intent is to create 2 parcels for single-family residences. The property is currently vacant. This is the case map that shows the property crosshatch, parcel 4. To the north, parcel 196-34001 is within the city of Yuma municipal boundaries. That property is currently in ag. Parcel 3 to the west is currently also in the city of Yuma limits. There's an existing residence on that property. To the south, east, and south and east, parcels in green. Parcel 4 is currently in citrus. Parcel 3 is currently the location of what appears to be an abandoned citrus packing warehouse. And parcel 1 and 2 is currently the location of a site-built and a manufactured home. The property is also in the, no, it's not in the noise zone, I'm sorry. This is the proposed.
It is or it is not?
It is not.
It is not. Okay, thank you.
This is the proposed split, parcels A and B. This is Exhibit A. This is rezoning case, this is the vicinity map that shows surrounding land uses. There is an irrigation ditch immediately to the south of the property. This is a picture of the property looking south at the subject property, looking north from the subject property, looking west along County 16th from the subject property, looking east from the subject property, and we received comments, none in opposition. They're on file. The staff is recommending approval of this rezoning case with the following conditions: performance conditions, that an ARS 1211 waiver is recorded, a agriculture disclosure statement, abrogation disclosure statement, and a schedule for development disclosure statement. And the following schedule for development, that within 1 year of approval, the applicant submit a land division permit, and that each lot is provided with the means of irrigation and access to irrigation water. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the commissioners? At this time, I'll open it up to the public and to the applicant. If anyone would like to speak for or against. Seeing none, bring it back to the commissioners. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve rezoning case 20-01 as presented.
All right, got a motion, have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay. Rezoning case passes. Item number 8, request to initiate text amendment to the Yuma County zoning ordinance to consider adding section 624-00.
Chairman Rosales, members of the commission, Juan Leal Rubio, Senior Planner with Planning Zone Division. These discussion items were brought to you, one of them was brought to you back in December. We had a discussion with you concerning the matter on hand, which is over the last year or so, the board has expressed some concern, and the Marine Corps Air Station, regarding the increase in density with the allowance of accessory dwellings on the properties that are located within the noise zone. In January of last year, staff presented a discussion item to the board about prohibiting the accessory dwelling units in the noise zones. But it was determined that would constitute a takings regarding Proposition 207, a claims. So we're bringing this back because the idea is to create a new zoning district that we're calling Suburban Homestead. The stuff that you have in front of you shows the proposed new zoning district. Like I said, we brought this item to you back in December. Then we took it to the board in January, and the board actually requested that we bring this back to you, requesting the commission to initiate a commission initiative, which is why we're here. If you decide to initiate the commission initiative, we'll take this to the board, and the board will hopefully give it the same direction, and we'll bring it back with an actual commission initiative. Well, we're going to seek the public's input.
Now, Mr. Chairman, if you initiate the commission initiative today, it'll come back to you after the public hearing for the commission initiative for a recommendation, which will then go to the board of supervisors for final approval.
And board, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, and the board's intent and staff's intent is to create this district that would not allow for occupancy increases by way of a second dwelling unit special permit for future properties. So this is in direct response to pressure, or not pressure, but direct response to creating a friendly environment for the Marine Corps Air Station and the airport.
Chairman Rosales, Vice Mayor Bryant, that is correct. I mean, this is almost, it mimics the DSR and SSB zoning district. The only difference is that in this new zoning district, it does not allow or does not reference an accessory dwelling unit by means of a special use permit. So when someone petitions to rezone a property, we would recommend that they, in the noise zone, that they use this new zoning district so that it prohibits the accessory dwelling unit process.
Mr. Chairman, if you go through the proposed text, the wording that is in bold font is proposed new wording to the zoning ordinance, and there's several sections that are affected by new wording that'll be added. There's also some wording that is proposed to be removed from the zoning ordinance, specifically the definition and the provision of guest room. That definition creates confusion as to what's allowed. There's no minimum size requirement, maximum size requirement for that. So staff is proposing to delete that definition from the zoning ordinance, in addition to adding references to suburban homestead throughout the zoning ordinance to ensure that different sections of the zoning ordinance that reference suburban ranch and suburban site, they'll also reference the new suburban homestead zoning district.
Yes, and with our desire to attract new and improved and growth at the Marine Corps Air Station, I think a zoning district like this would be a positive thing for them to take to Washington and say, look what Yuma County's doing. We need to consider growing that base. So I think it's a good move on the supervisor's part.
I got a question. How do the cargo containers, for adding cargo containers?
No, Chairman Rosales, the reason that that section is being modified is because that section also mentions suburban ranch and suburban site built, since it's suburban homestead is basically the same as those zoning district. The only difference is that the accessory dwelling unit. So we have to include it here so that cargo containers are also permitted in these districts.
Mr. Chairman, if you refer to page 6 of your staff report, it tells you where in that section under cargo containers the reference to suburban homestead is being added. The same goes with section 1106.02 of the zoning ordinance. We're just inserting the reference to the new zoning district.
I was picturing something different this way. Building a house out of cargo containers like they see on TV and stack them up.
And remember, we're going to bring this back as an actual commission initiative, and at that time, we will have an actual presentation, and we will also seek the public's input. So hopefully, we'll have some more feedback.
Thank you. Anything else?
I also want to mention that the next item is also related to this. Since we are, creating a new zoning district, we also have to take a look at the comprehensive plan and add reference of the suburban homestead so that it gets incorporated into the zoning tables and all that, the land use table and the zoning table.
That would be the request to initiate the minor amendment?
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and finish up number 8 first then. Do we have any further questions, discussions? Have a motion? Or do we need a motion? We need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend to the board that we initiate a commission initiative. That's true.
Motion
We're
is to
we're just going to
initiate.
initiate a commission initiative as recommended by staff in the staff report.
So move.
I second.
All right, got a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Any against? Motion passes. Item number 10, so this would be to request to initiate a minor amendment due to the homestead changes of step. Item number 8. Do we have any discussions for that? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
We're on item number 9.
Yeah.
10.
9.
No, I already told him that it added.
You already explained the
Yeah.
questions or motion? No one wants to approve it?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we initiate the minor amendment for the land use conformity matrix table as recommended by staff.
Second.
Motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? All right, motion passes. Item number 10, review and approve of the calendar year 2019 annual report.
You make a motion?
Is there a staff representation or?
Yeah, I have
approval?
Okay.
I have a brief presentation. I'm just playing, switching
Okay.
chairs.
It's that 90-minute tape that you had, right?
Yeah.
90?
I demand popcorn.
It's only 61 if you take out the commercials.
It'll be longer than 30 seconds for YouTube. No. So frio, it's cold in here.
Mr. Chairman, this is the annual report for calendar year 2019. It is a report that's required pursuant to Section 2H of the Planning and Zoning Commission bylaws. It summarizes activities for the Planning and Zoning Division, Building Safety Division, Environmental Programs Division, and some information concerning capital improvement projects for the engineering department. So this is a 5-year comparison of activities for the Planning and Zoning Division, or for the planning section. The planning section is tasked with reviewing rezoning cases, special use permit cases, variance cases, text amendments to the zoning ordinance, tentative maps, extensions of times for variances, so some just different activities. This table demonstrates that in calendar year 2019 compared to calendar year 2015, there was an increase of 47.5% in the overall level of activity, increase of 127% in the number of land division permits, an increase of 250% in the number of rezoning cases, and an increase of 11% in the number of variance cases. And keep in mind, I'm comparing calendar year 2015 to 2019.
Subdivision was a surprising one.
I'm sorry?
I would assume the subdivision one would have been higher activity, but it wasn't that much difference.
So this map shows the cases that were approved in calendar year 2019, and it's both cases approved by the Board of Supervisors, so it's minor amendments, Board of Supervisors and Board of Adjustment. So this map includes minor amendments, special use permits, subdivisions, rezonings, and variances. So as you can see, there's development that's scattered through along the west side of the Gila Mountains here. There's very little activities on the East County or in the East County. There were 2 text amendments that were approved by the Board of Supervisors. One was the adoption of the 2018 International Building Code, International Residential Code, International Plumbing Code, International Electrical Code, and International Mechanical Code and International Fire Code. Commission Initiative 1902 was a text amendment to sections 306, section 309, and section 1208 of the zoning ordinance. And these were the changes that were suggested by the Planning and Zoning Commission subcommittee that was formed a couple years ago. Some outreach activities that staff was involved with this year. There were 3 activities. One was the Military Career Fair at Gila Ridge High School. 2 other ones were activities at Arizona Western College. One was at the San Luis campus, and one was at the main campus. So the zoning enforcement section, this table shows the 5-year comparison of activities that were conducted by the zoning enforcement section. The map shows that, as you can see, that most zoning violations take place, the majority of them, in the foothills planning area. There's also a cluster of cases over in the northwest Yuma planning area, and then other cases scattered throughout the remainder of the county. There were 356 complaints that were received in calendar year 2019. A total of 274 cases were processed, which means those cases were either taken to the hearing officer or were sent a courtesy violation notice or a courtesy notice of violation, and they may have been resolved prior to them going to the hearing officer. 237 zoning violation cases were closed, and 981 inspections were conducted in calendar year 2019. For the Building Safety Division, this table shows the construction valuations, new commercial construction, new industrial construction, new single-family residences, average valuations for new single-family residences, and total number of inspections for calendar years 2015 through 2019. In calendar year 2019 compared to calendar year 2015, there was an increase of 92% in new construction valuations, 114% in new single-family residential permits, and a 57% increase in total number of inspections conducted by the Building Safety Division. This map shows permits for residential construction, which also includes manufactured and park model permits that were issued, commercial permits, and industrial permits that were finalized in 2019. The majority of activity, again, is concentrated in the foothills planning area. And then there's also, again, on this map, a cluster of activity in the northwest Yuma planning area, which is right around here. The Environmental Programs Division, this is a table that shows their activities for calendar years 2015 through calendar year 2019. There was an increase of 30% in fees received, septic tank inspections, and septic tank permits final or issued. 11% increase in septic tank permits final, and 27% increase in site evaluations if you're comparing 2015 to 2019. For the engineering department, there were 11 capital improvement projects that were completed. There's a table at the end of your report that includes all of the capital improvement projects that were completed for 2019. I did not include the table. It was too hard to fit on the slides, and the font would have been too small. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
If I could, Mr. Chairman. Maggie, do you,
Nah, I didn't say nothing, all right?
Do we do any comparisons in the things that are applicable to the municipalities and what their percentage increases are, like in new single-family residences, or the areas that we could see if the cities in San Luis and Yuma, perhaps the town of Welton, and maybe surrounding counties? I mean, do we have access to the information to do those comparisons?
Mr. Chairman, we would have to request that information from each of the jurisdictions. We have never done that type of comparison in the past. The report that's presented to you is simply for you to see what activities the Planning and Zoning Division and the Planning Commission has been involved with throughout the year or for the year. I think that level of analysis and that level of research would have to be something that's presented at a different in a different setting. It wouldn't be necessarily at the time of the annual report.
Yeah, it just seems it would have a lot of value if we could tell if we're growing. I mean, we're up 200% or 123%. That may be really blowing it away, and it may not be nearly as well as the other folks around. We have nothing to measure to except ourselves if we don't compare it to something.
The purpose of the report is, like I said, for you to review the workload. And within the report, there's also tables that show the staffing levels in the 5-year period.
That would also give you the comparison, wouldn't it, to say that we're doing a lot more with less people, or we need more people. I mean, that would be a good way of knowing how we sized up with other jurisdictions based on the amount of workload and the number of employees.
Yeah,
So it
Mr.
could be
Chairman,
beneficial for you.
This is something that I can move up to the
Think about it.
Director of Development Services, and maybe we can start compiling that, requesting and compiling that information. But like I said, the report includes tables. As you can see, there's been quite an increase in the workload, and staffing levels have remained the same, or in some cases, we have less staff and more work. So.
Understand, and it may, if you talk about it, it might not, you might find that it's not worth doing, but it seems to me it would help you in your department when you make a case to the supervisors that we're doing this much with this many people, and the other folks have this many cases with this many people. It could be in your favor. Of course, you wouldn't want to report it if it wasn't. We will know if it worked, if it's in their favor, if we see a report.
And that would be, and I understand on staff, that would be kind of hard because, I mean, if you try to compare county to county, I mean, land size, number one, is going to be very different, Maricopa County to Yuma.
Population size.
Now, if we go on the economic growth, for example, comparing San Luis city permits this year versus last year and the growth that we had, and that'll give you a percentage of the county. That'll give you a percentage, but in regards to the latter part of the staffing and the size of the land, the territory, that's going to be tough. But economic impact and growth that we've seen, I mean, I can tell you, like, San Luis had 336 permits, I think, last year. I mean, here we have 236. Community 30,000, a county of 100. I mean, but again, it's the fastest growing community in the state of Arizona, you know. But that gives it in line. Now, if you compare to 2015, I see where you're going. I mean, we'll see the growth. Yeah. So, all right. Well, food for thought for staff.
Thank you.
It.
Can I, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
2 meetings ago, we had a motion that died for lack of a second. It wasn't reflected in the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I believe there was a second motion that was made. So the first.
No, it was a second motion made, but there was no record. And that matters not to me. I just make sure we don't want to get us in trouble. A motion that dies for lack of a second is the same as a failed motion.
No,
Oh, you mean the record of the actual act of the motion failing?
Chairman,
thought
a
it should
motion
be in
that
there.
dies for lack of a second means there was no motion.
Well, that's what I think that I was hoping Ed would be here. According to Mr. Roberts, we were in error.
That I can bring that up to the
Like I said, it matters not to me.
legal counsel.
But we would like to have it fully recorded that Tim made a motion. I got no second.
Anonymous, please, anonymous.
Have mercy on him.
All
It's
right,
lonely.
we still have one more item here.
Can
The
we go
motion.
now?
We still have one more item, if you guys allow me to finish the meeting now. Any discussion,
the
commissioners, planning
calendar
director events, current events, schedule for future planning commissions?
We didn't even-
Actually, we need to review and approve her report. Do we have a motion to review, and we reviewed it? Anyone have a motion to approve her report?
Mr. Chairman, yes, I second.
Motion, we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Any against? All right, the last item, do we have any discussion regarding to any events, future, current, or pending, or anyone wants to go anywhere? No? All right, adjournment. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Maggie.